Good morning and a warm welcome to our esteemed viewers to the midweek edition of newspaper headlines, reaching you from the studios of the Advent Cable Network Nigeria Television, ACNNTV. In the dailies today, 5,000 Nigerians seek refuge in Niger. These and other information are lined up for your delight. I am Rachel Igbun. We start this morning with the Daily Trust newspaper, and I'll take it from the lead story. It says insecurity. Over 500 people killed in 10 states in 3 months. The kicker says bandits, kidnappers, terrorists attacking communities. Troops from Niger protecting our people in Sokoto. This is coming from Senator Gobir. Senate urges Buhari to extend onslaught against bandits to Zamfara, Kaduna and others. See the details on page 2. Alright, we have this map of cases so far. Major attacks in the last 3 months. In Katsina State, over 100 persons killed by bandits in the last 2 weeks. While in Kaduna, 51 killed since March 1st in Igabi and Giwa local government areas. While Interstate, 149 killed during communal clashes and banditry between January and early May. In Borno State, 100 persons killed in reported Boko Haram attacks. And we also have this the map of Nigeria with states affected by killings in the last 3 months. We have that of Sokoto State, Zamfara, Katsina, Kano, Yobe, Borno, Kaduna State, Niger, Benue and Adamawa State. Then the bottom strip stories. Federal government to Nigerians, prepare for the worst on COVID-19. See the details on page 3. On page 16, Dangote Cement, other stocks push market cap to 12.6 trillion naira. See the details on page 16. COVID-19, lawyers differ on Ondo governorship elections. The story can be found on page 43. And below the masthead, Nigeria's economy, appraising pre-pandemic policy trust and performance. See the details on page 17. That is on Daily Trust newspaper. We go to the next paper this morning, which is the Leadership newspaper, and I'll take it from the lead story. Plan for reopening in 2 weeks. Federal government tells businesses, schools, worship centers. It has the kickers. Urges stakeholders to strike balance between safety and economic considerations. Assures journalists, other essential workers of adequate protections. Cautions affected persons against concealment. Insists Madagascar herbal remedy was a gift. Emefiele woos conglomerates for post-COVID-19 economy. FAAN fumigates airports ahead of flights resumption. Travelers dominate coronavirus cases in Gombe. This is coming from NCDC, and you can see the details on page 4. We have this picture of the Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, during the virtual inauguration of Post-COVID-19 Initiatives Committee for the creative industry in Abuja. This happened yesterday. And beside the picture, Akwa Ibom cuts political appointees' salaries by 20%. The story starts from the front page and it continues on page 6. Page 2. Eid al-Fitr. Sultan warns Muslims against gathering at prayer ground. That story is on page 2. Then the bottom strip stories. Niger APC expels Ibeto, Malang, Medoya. The story can be found on page 13. Military. Police strike forces begin assault on bandits in Katsina. See the details on page 14. Rivers drop charges against coveting helicopters, pilots and passengers. The story can be found on page 15. On page 23, federal government sacks TCN MD, confirms 4 directors. That story is on page 23. Then below the masthead, President Muhammadu Buhari appoints Lamido Yuguda as Security Executive Commission DG, that is SECDG. The story starts from the front page and it continues on page 4. Then last story on leadership newspaper, Ban Ki-moon hails Gambari's appointment as Chief of Staff. See the details on page 17. Next is This Day newspaper, and I'll take it from the top above the masthead. Emefiele rallies industrialists in rebuilding the economy. The story starts from the front page and it continues on page 10. On page 8, FIRS extends deadline for financial institutions to submit reports. Then the lead story on This Day newspaper says police embark on strict enforcement of curfew, interstate travel ban. The kicker says bow to pressure, amend no exemption directive against journalists, health workers. Federal government holds self-medication responsible for most COVID-19 deaths. Trains 12,000 health workers on infectious diseases control. 226 new cases push total to 6,175, with 1,734 discharged, 192 dead. Buhari celebrates irreplaceable Nigerian professor who recovered in UK. The story starts from the front page and it continues on page 10. Enahoro, it's time to restructure Nigeria. The story starts from the front page and it also continues on page 10. And the picture is that of the Speaker, House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, and Senator and Senior Special Advisor to the President on National Assembly Matters, Honorable Umar El Yaqub, during the Speaker's visit to the President at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. This happened yesterday. And the last story on This Day newspaper, Buhari obliges Senate approves military offensives on bandits in Northwest. See the details on page 9. We go to the Blueprint newspaper and I'll take it from the top below the masthead. COVID-19, NAS to rework legislative agenda. This is coming from Gbajabiamila. The kicker says 2-week extension not punitive. This is coming from PTF. Nasara lifts ban on worship centers for 2 weeks. See the details on page 13. The story starts from the front page and it continues on page 6. On page 20, NSCDC arrests 35 sneaking from Osun to Sokoto. That story is on page 20. And on page 23, it will take 6 weeks to put out OML 95 Inferno. This is coming from the National Oil Spill Detection and Response Agency. Go to the lead story. Banditry. 5,000 Nigerians migrated to Niger Republic. This is coming from the Senate. 6 military intervention. Buhari's immediate action. See the details on page 6. We have this picture of the Nigerian Air Force Special Force personnel deployed to Plateau State on arrival at the 205 Combat Search and Rescue Group headquarters in Magun area local government of the state. Senate probes 1.532 trillion naira power intervention fund. Once privatization revoked. See the details on page 5. The bottom strip stories. Loot delivers another COVID-19 patient of twins. That story is on page 7. Osun Amotekun, JTF arrests 11 expatriates over illegal mining. The story can be found on page 20. And on page 5, federal government sacks TCN confirms 5 directors. And the last story on Blueprint newspaper, Osun Customs generates over 20 billion naira, arrests 63 in 4 months. That story is on page 20. Alright, right about now we pause here to observe a short break. When we return, newspaper headlines will be back with more information. Please stay tuned.
There are a lot of false information about the coronavirus. These are the facts. People of all ages can be affected by the coronavirus. However, older people and people with pre-existing medical conditions such as asthma, diabetes, heart diseases are more vulnerable to the disease. It is not for old people alone. Gargling salt and warm water or chewing garlic and ginger cannot prevent the virus. Drinking alcohol, hot lemon, palm oil or chloroquine will not kill the virus. The virus cannot be transmitted through mosquito bites. Antibiotics do not work against the viruses. Antibiotics work only against bacteria. Boiling pineapple peels, lime and ginger does not kill the virus. Putting raw onions in rooms will not ward off the virus. Using or spraying Dettol, special oils and water all over your body cannot kill the virus. There is no scientific evidence that cooking, drinking or eating any of these is an effective treatment for coronavirus. Do not self-medicate and take responsibility by sharing only verified messages from health authorities such as NCDC, Federal Ministry of Health and WHO.
Thanks for staying tuned. Let's see what the other papers have to say. We start with the Nigerian Tribune, and I'll take it from the lead story. It says Nigerians should ignore Trump on hydroxychloroquine. Nigerians should ignore Trump on hydroxychloroquine. This is coming from PTF. The kicker says study ongoing on its efficiency in Nigeria. Explains why death toll is rising. COVID-19 has taught us to build our institutions, it adds. Restaurants allowed only take-away services. Trump threatens to permanently end WHO funding. See the details on pages 2 and 23. Beside the picture, introduce national policy on online education to salvage fate of 1.2 billion Nigerian students. Reps tell federal government. See the details on page 4. On page 28, Lut delivers 22-year-old coronavirus patient of twins. Reps, governors meet over infectious disease bill. The story can be found on page 2. And the picture is that of 10 pirates who hijacked a fishing vessel being paraded by the press at the naval base in Apapa after their arrest by the Nigerian Special Boat Service operatives in Lagos. This happened yesterday. Then the bottom strip story. Reps summon health minister over whereabouts of Chinese medical team. PDP demands apology from federal government over denial of any link with Chinese doctors. See the details on page 3. Then below the masthead, COVID-19 won't frustrate our program for Edo elections. NEC insists. This can be found on page 3. And on page 30, Ganduje okay's Jumat service, Salah prayers. The kicker, Nasara lifts ban on worship centers for 2 weeks. 4.3 billion naira secret account. No plan to impeach governor. Ondo Assembly. The story can be found on page 4. Then above the masthead, Senate to probe 1.532 trillion naira intervention fund to power sector. Demands revocation of privatization. The story starts from the front page and it continues on page 3. Last, federal government sacks TCN MD, appoints Abdulaziz in acting capacity. We'll go to the next paper, which is Nigerian pilots. I'll take it from the top below the masthead. Governor Jiri assures urban renewal projects will begin soon. See the details on page 5. On page 6, Senate begins amendment of local content law. Then the lead story says violation as 15 Chinese overstay 30 days allowed. Violation was in collaboration with top government officials. Restriction order on travels responsible. This is coming from Minister. PDP berates federal government for concealment, deception. See the details on page 8. And the picture is that of the Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai, Deputy Governor of Kaduna State Dr. Hadiza Balarabe, Chief Judge of Kaduna State High Court Justice Balkisu Muhammad, new High Court judges and other officials during the swearing-in of 4 new High Court judges at the Government House in Kaduna. This happened yesterday. Foreign soldiers fighting bandits in Sokoto. This is coming from a senator and can be found on page 8. The bottom strip stories. Ramadan. Sultan urges Muslims to look out for new moon. See the details on page 10. Governor Umahi blasts MBS for rating Ebonyi 4th poorest state. Details can be found on page 13. On page 24, NNPC to construct permanent medical facilities in 14 states. COVID-19. Nasarawa State lifts ban on religious gatherings. See the details on page 8. On that same page, review reverse privatization policy of power sector now. Senate President. We go to the next paper this morning, which is the Business Day newspaper, and I'll take it beside the picture. It says federal government asks businesses, schools, others to adopt new strategies ahead of reopening as Lagos releases additional guidelines. The story starts from the front page and it continues on page 7. An inside story. Thames Nigeria must meet to assess $1.5 billion World Bank credit. The story can be found on page 6. And on that same page, NLNG Train 7 project attack. I'll take that story again. NLNG Train 7 project attracts $3 billion financing from 31 lenders. That story can be found on page 6. And the picture is that of the President Muhammadu Buhari, receiving Theophilus Yakubu Njuma, a former Chief of Army Staff and Minister of Defense, during the leader's visit to the President at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. And the lead story, which is the last story on the Business Day newspaper. Nigerian employers in crawling battle to keep staff as COVID-19 pressure mounts. The story starts from the front page and it continues on page 7. This is where we draw the curtains on today's edition of Newspaper Headlines. Thank you for watching. Till we come your way again on Friday, I leave you with these in times like this. The Lord will go before you. He will not leave you nor forsake you. So do not fear or be dismayed. These too shall pass away. Remain blessed and bye for now.